September 18, 2010, Maple Street, suburban Ohio, 5:34 p.m. Clint Eastwood was driving home from a location scout when he saw the girl. She couldn't have been more than 10 years old. Blue t-shirt, denim shorts, ponytail coming loose, standing behind a folding table on the sidewalk with a handmade sign that stopped him cold. Lemonade $1, help my mom. Clint had driven past 1,000 lemonade stands in his life. Kids raising money for bikes, video games, summer camp. He usually smiled, waved, kept driving. But something about this one was different. The way the girl stood, shoulders tired but determined, the way she looked at each passing car with hope that faded a little more each time they drove by. The way her smile tried so hard to be brave but couldn't hide the fear underneath. Clint pulled his car to the curb. The girl's face transformed when she saw him stopping. Not because she recognized him. She was too young to know who Clint Eastwood was. But because after standing there for 3 hours, someone was finally stopping. What Clint didn't know was that this moment was about to change 3 lives forever. His own, this little girl's, and a woman lying in a hospital bed 12 miles away who had no idea her daughter was out here fighting for her. But to understand why this moment mattered, you need to know what brought that girl to this sidewalk. Her name was Emma Chen. 10 years old, 4th grade, loved soccer and hated math. 6 months earlier, Emma's world had been normal. Mom packed her lunches. Dad drove her to practice. Her biggest worry was a spelling test. Then her mother, Lee, found the lump. Breast cancer, stage 3. Aggressive. The kind that requires immediate surgery, chemotherapy, radiation. The kind that costs money most families don't have. Lee Chen was a nurse. Her husband, David, worked in IT. They had insurance, but insurance doesn't cover everything. The deductibles, the experimental treatments, the medications insurance calls not medically necessary. Within 3 months, the Chens had burned through their savings. They borrowed from David's parents, took out a second mortgage, sold Lee's car. It still wasn't enough. Emma watched her parents' faces change, watched her father at the kitchen table at midnight, calculator in hand, moving numbers around like puzzle pieces that would never fit. Watched her mother try to hide how sick the chemotherapy made her. And Emma, who was 10 years old and shouldn't have to think about medical bills and mortality, started thinking about what she could do to help. She asked her parents if she could get a job. They said she was too young. She asked if she could sell her toys. They said, "No, sweetheart." But Emma Chen was her mother's daughter, and her mother had taught her that when life knocks you down, you don't stay down. You find a way to stand back up. So Emma found a way. The idea came to Emma on a Wednesday night in August. She was lying in bed listening to her parents in the kitchen. Not angry, arguing. Worse, the kind of tired, desperate conversation that comes when 2 people are drowning. "The oncologist says there's a new treatment." Her mother's voice drifted up the stairs. "Clinical trial. It's showing real promise." "Lee, we can't afford—" "I know. I'm just saying." Silence. The kind that carries more weight than words. Emma stared at her ceiling, thinking. She was 10. She couldn't get a job. She couldn't drive. She couldn't do anything adults did. But she could make lemonade. Her grandmother had taught her. Fresh lemons, cold water, just enough sugar. Simple. And kids sold lemonade all the time, right? Emma did the math. If she charged $1 per cup, she didn't know how many cups people bought. 100? 1,000? It didn't matter. Whatever the number was, Emma would reach it. The next morning, she asked her father for $20. For a school project, she said. He handed it over without question. Emma walked to the grocery store, bought lemons, sugar, cups, used her piggy bank money for poster board and markers, spent that evening in the garage painting her sign with careful block letters. She didn't tell her parents. They would say no. They would say she was too young, it wasn't safe, she didn't need to worry about grown-up problems. But Emma was already worrying, so she might as well do something about it. Emma set up her first lemonade stand on Saturday, August 21st, 2010. She woke up at 6 a.m., made the lemonade exactly how her grandmother taught her, squeezed every lemon by hand until her arms ached, carried her folding table, pitcher, cups, and sign to the corner of Maple Street. By 7 a.m., she was ready. Fresh lemonade, clean cups, sign propped against the table. And then she waited. The first car drove past without slowing. Then another, and another. At 9 a.m., Mrs. Henderson from down the street stopped. "Emma, what are you doing out here?" Emma lied. Said it was fine. Said Mom knew. Mrs. Henderson bought one cup, paid with $5, told Emma to keep the change. $4 profit. Emma put it in the jar and felt a tiny spark of hope. But that was the only customer until noon. The August sun was brutal. Emma hadn't brought a hat. The lemonade was getting warm. Her arms hurt from squeezing lemons. Her legs hurt from standing. A group of teenagers drove past, laughing. One of them yelled something. It sounded mean. Emma felt tears starting, but pushed them back down. Crying wouldn't help. By 2 p.m., she'd sold 4 cups, $9 total. By 4 p.m., 6 cups, $14. She was trying to save her mother's life with $14 in lemonade that wasn't even cold anymore. That night, Emma cried in her room, where her parents couldn't hear. But the next morning, she got up and did it again. Emma ran her lemonade stand every weekend for 3 weeks, Saturday and Sunday, 8 hours each day, in the sun, in the heat, once in the rain, until her father drove past and made her come home. She learned things. That lemonade sells better cold. That smiling at drivers makes them more likely to stop. That the corner near the park gets more traffic. She learned that most people are kind. The elderly couple who bought lemonade every Sunday and always paid with a 10. The jogger who stopped every morning and left whatever change he had. The woman with 3 kids who bought 4 cups and told Emma she was doing a beautiful thing. But she also learned that $14 a weekend wasn't enough. By mid-September, Emma had made $237. She kept it in a shoebox under her bed, counted it every night. $237. Her mother's medical bills were $38,000 and growing. Emma understood she was losing this fight, but she didn't know what else to do. So she kept making lemonade, kept standing on that corner, kept hoping. Her mother was getting sicker. The chemotherapy was brutal. Chen had lost her hair, lost 30 pounds, spent most days too weak to get out of bed. Emma's father had started working double shifts, came home exhausted, hollow-eyed. And Emma stood on Maple Street with her sign and her lemonade, and her desperate hope that somehow this would matter. September 18th started like every other Saturday. Emma made the lemonade, carried the table to the corner, set up the sign. But this Saturday ended differently. Clint Eastwood stepped out of his car. Emma's first thought was that he looked kind. Older man, gray hair, tan shirt. "How much for a lemonade?" Clint asked. $1. It's really good. Fresh lemons. Clint pulled out his wallet. Emma tried not to stare at how much money was in there. He handed her $5. "Keep the change." "Thank you so much." Emma poured lemonade with shaking hands. Clint took the cup but didn't drink yet. He was reading her sign. "Help my mom," he said quietly. "What's wrong with your mom?" Emma hadn't expected anyone to ask. Most people saw the sign, felt uncomfortable, paid quickly and left. "She's sick," Emma said, felt tears trying to come. "Cancer. The treatments cost a lot of money and my parents are trying really hard, but there's not enough and I wanted to help." The words tumbled out faster than she meant them. She probably sounded stupid. A kid with a lemonade stand thinking she could cure cancer with dollar bills. But Clint didn't look at her like she was stupid. He looked at her like she was the bravest person he'd ever met. "How long have you been doing this?" he asked. 3 weeks, every weekend. I've made $237 so far." $237 by yourself. Emma nodded. Clint was quiet for a long moment. "What's your name?" "Emma. Emma Chen." "Emma, I'm Clint, and I want to tell you something important. What you're doing right now, this is the most courageous thing I've seen in 40 years. Clint sat down on the curb next to Emma's table. He was Clint Eastwood. He directed movies, won Oscars, stood on stages in front of thousands. But right now he sat on a suburban curb next to a 10-year-old girl's lemonade stand. "Tell me about your mom," he said. So Emma did. Told him about Chen, who worked night shifts as a nurse so she could be home when Emma got off the bus. Who made the best dumplings. who sang off-key but sang anyway, who was fighting cancer with everything she had, but it wasn't enough. Told him about her dad who was trying so hard but looked more tired every day. Told him about lying awake doing math, trying to figure out how many cups of lemonade it would take to save someone's life. Clint listened, really listened. Not the way adults usually listen to kids. He listened like Emma's words mattered. When she finished, Clint was quiet. "Your parents know you're doing this?" he asked gently. Emma shook her head. "They'd make me stop. They'd say I'm too young." "You are too young to worry about this." Emma's face fell. "But," Clint continued, "that doesn't mean you're wrong to care. You know what I see when I look at you? I see someone who saw a problem bigger than herself and decided to fight anyway. That's not just courage, Emma. That's heroism." Emma felt tears coming. This time she couldn't stop them. "But $237 isn't enough," she whispered. "No," Clint agreed. "It's not." He stood up, pulled out his phone. "But I know someone who might be able to help with that." What Clint Eastwood did next became the kind of story people tell when they want to believe the world is still good. First, he called the local TV station. "I'm at Maple Street. There's a story here you need to see." Then he called his assistant. "Set up a fund. Medical expenses for Lee Chen. I'll send details." Then he did something that changed everything. He took a picture of Emma at her lemonade stand, posted it to social media. "I stopped for lemonade today. Met the bravest kid in Ohio. Her mom is fighting cancer. The family needs help." He included the fund link, included Emma's story. Then he bought every cup of lemonade Emma had. All of it. Paid her $500. "For the lemonade," he said when Emma stared at the money. "You earned it." The local news van arrived 20 minutes later. Then another. By the time Emma's parents got phone calls from neighbors, half the neighborhood had gathered on Maple Street. The story was everywhere by Sunday morning. Girl 10 runs lemonade stand to save mother dying of cancer. Clint Eastwood stops to help. By Sunday afternoon, the fund had raised $15,000. By Monday, $50,000. By Tuesday, $200,000. People from all over the country sending $5, $10, $100. Sending it because Emma Chen reminded them that courage isn't about being big enough or strong enough. Sometimes courage is just a 10-year-old girl with a lemonade stand refusing to give up. Lee Chen cried when she found out what her daughter had been doing. Not sad tears, proud tears. The kind that come when you realize your child is braver than you knew. "Emma, baby, you didn't have to do this," Lee whispered from her hospital bed. "I know," Emma said, "but I wanted to." The money raised covered Lee's medical bills. All of them. The experimental treatment, the medications, the follow-up care. More than that, it gave the Chen family something they'd lost. Hope. Lee's new treatment started working. The tumors began shrinking. The doctors started using words like remission and recovery. By December 2010, Lee Chen's cancer was undetectable. By March 2011, she was back at work. By Emma's 11th birthday, Lee was strong enough to help her celebrate with homemade dumplings. But the story didn't end there. Emma's lemonade stand started a movement. Kids across the country began setting up their own stands. Not for video games, for causes that mattered. Medical bills, disaster relief, community needs. The Lemonade for Good movement raised over $2 million in its first year. Emma Chen became the face of childhood compassion, appeared on talk shows, met presidents, inspired thousands. But Emma never forgot where it started. A folding table, a pitcher of lemonade, a sign asking for help, and a stranger who stopped his car when he didn't have to. Clint Eastwood stayed in touch with the Chen family. Not for publicity, he never mentioned it in interviews. He just checked in, asked how Lee was doing, asked how Emma was handling the attention. When Emma graduated 8th grade, he sent flowers and a note. "Still the bravest person I know." When she applied to colleges, he wrote her a recommendation letter about courage and character. Emma Chen went to medical school, became an oncologist, specialized in treating children with cancer. "My mom survived," she told her patients, "and you can too. I've seen miracles." In 2024, Emma established the Chen Foundation, helps families facing overwhelming medical bills, funds experimental treatments, provides support for kids whose parents are sick. The foundation's logo is a lemonade pitcher. When reporters ask Emma about that September day, she always tells the same story. Clint Eastwood didn't save my mom's life. The doctors did that. But Clint Eastwood saved me. He saw a kid trying to do something impossible, and instead of telling me I was too young, he helped me believe I was big enough to make a difference. Lee Chen, healthy at 58, still makes dumplings every Sunday, still keeps a photo on her mantle. Emma, at 10 years old, standing behind a lemonade stand, holding a sign that changed everything. Clint Eastwood is 94 now, still directing, still creating. But when people ask him about his proudest moment, he doesn't talk about Oscars. He talks about a September afternoon, a lemonade stand, a brave little girl who reminded him that heroes come in all sizes. Sometimes they're 10 years old with a pitcher of lemonade and the courage to believe that one person can change the world. Emma Chen proved it, and everyone who heard her story learned to believe it too.